Welcome to Reggie's Sports Talk in the Morning. I'm your host, RJ Kruger. Today's November 6th. It is 9 a.m. and it's a beautiful Friday. It's showing signs of summer again in the fall. Who knows? We're going to get tricked in the Midwest for another season. This past Sunday in the Bears game, nothing really exciting happened for the Chicago Bears offense, except for Javon Wims in the third quarter punching C.J. Gardner-Johnson of the Saints right in the helmet twice and getting suspended 2 games. Javon Wims tried to say that C.J. Gardner-Johnson not only spit on him, but also ripped his mouthguard out of his mouth and threw it 7 minutes before he punched him in the face. And after waiting 7 minutes and letting it eat him up, he finally decided to go for Gardner-Johnson and tried punching him right in the head while he was wearing his helmet. Today, my guest is Thomas Yarbrough. Thomas is on the Elmhurst Crew Core team, is the president of Athletes in Action at Elmhurst, and is also on the Elmhurst football team as a defensive player. Let's welcome our guest, Thomas Yarbrough.
Yeah, Thomas, yeah!
Hello, everybody. I'm Thomas, as he just said. And yeah, I play D-tackle, D-end, and outside linebacker on the Elmhurst football team. I am mostly just an edge rusher. Call me Mini Mac. That's what the guys call me. No, I'm just kidding. That's not what they call me. But, yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me, RJ. Always an honor. And, yeah, beautiful Friday. You know, you just love in the Midwest where it's like sunny one day, spike ball season, prime, and then snowing, and you're just ready to go have a snowball fight at midnight. You know, just you got to love the diversity of the weather here.
Yeah. Well, this podcast isn't about the weather. It's about football. So let's get to it. So, Thomas, as a defensive player, how do you feel when someone gets punched in the face on your team?
Okay, personally, I never actually got why someone would punch another person with a helmet on. Now, I get it. You're in the heat of the moment. You're doing this. You're doing that. He obviously was tired. He's been playing some plays. But if you look at the stats, he didn't have much to contribute. He had 1 reception for 9 yards of 3 quarters of play. So he could have helped the team out a little more, but what had happened was the opposing player was actually also not only like talking smack to him, but his teammate. And what he did to his teammate was a bunch of really bad holding calls. And oh my gosh, defensive holding is very annoying because not only are you expected to be like fighting off the holding as a defensive player, but when you're an offensive player and you get the holding, it's just like you're not trained to, to get off that holding. So I definitely understand the lack of the call, and he probably just let it get to him, and he just was like, you know what, my hand's not that important to me. I'll punch a giant hunk of plastic.
All right. Yeah, I never understood it either. You see it happen a lot of times. Why does someone punch someone who's wearing a helmet? It's a metal helmet. We've all punched metal before on accident. We know it doesn't feel good.
Not one bit, RJ.
No, it does not. All right, Thomas. Now, imagine if this were to happen at Elmhurst. What would your coach say if Thomas is lined up and all of a sudden he gets mad and punches someone in the head? What would your coach say?
If I did it as crazy as he did it, 100%, I would not only be suspended, but I'd probably be off the team. Like, that kind of action is totally unacceptable, especially at the D3 level. But I get it. It's his job. There's a whole lot of things. A whole lot of different contributions that go into it with contract and different money and just an assortment of things that can happen. But one thing I'd like to point out is that within the 3 years that he's been with the Bears, his total amount of yards is under 300 yards. Like, barely. And he's got 27 yards this season, including the 9 he had that night. 186 his first year. You know, I don't understand why he wouldn't have gotten a more severe punishment, because I know as an athlete, conducting yourself in that sort of way is not only looking down on you, but other people are looking down on that organization. So I thought the NFL was a little more cutthroat, but hey, everybody deserves a second chance, I guess.
Well, the NFL is the one that suspended him for the 2 games. The Bears haven't come out and said what they're going to do yet with him. I agree. Wims has always been someone that the Bears try to turn to in clutch situations, and he drops an easy catch or can't get the extra yard for us. I've always wondered why we kept Wims around and why we haven't given someone like Riley Ridley a chance. We see what his brother's doing in Atlanta.
Calvin.
We saw what Ridley did in college at Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't we giving him a chance? He is a monster who's sitting on the bench waiting for an opportunity. And who knows, maybe the suspension to Wims will be his opportunity, and the Bears will realize, hey, we don't need him.
I was just about to bring that up because I'm a big fan of Riley. So I'm a big fan of Alabama, Roll Tide. So obviously they play Georgia every year. And I remember one specific year, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, and Bama was facing Georgia, and it was coming in close. And Riley was having a hell of a game. Like, I think he had a total of 100 yards, 100-something yards that game. And he was just hard to stop. And Alabama is known for our defense, and we're known for our quarterbacks. So, I just think it's really crazy that we haven't given this kid a chance.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we definitely need to take into consideration.
I don't want to get away from the topic on hand, which is Wims punching the guy, but another thing that might give him a chance is that the Bears are moving away from Ted Ginn Jr., another one of their wide receiver weapons they tried to use this year. They think that experiment failed. So right now on our wide receiver depth chart, we have Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, and Darnell Mooney, our new rookie, who's been an absolute monster. Maybe now this is the chance for Riley Ridley to get some snaps and contribute in the way that we thought Wims was going to, and maybe he'll even take over. We don't know what's going to happen with Allen Robinson's contract. We don't. The Bears are saying one number, Robinson's team saying another number. If they can't compete, we could very well see a team next year where it's Anthony Miller, Darnell Mooney, and either Wims or Riley Ridley. And if it's going to be Wims, we can't have incidences like this happening where he gets aggravated because someone's playing dirty. People play dirty in every game, and you don't see other wide receivers throwing punches at people's helmets. What do you think of that?
I think, I mean, I totally agree. I see where you're coming from with that. I think that, Allen Robinson's obviously a key player that we need to keep on feeding. I think that we shouldn't be forcing our quarterbacks to be throwing 42 throws a game. We need to diversify up our and beef up our O-line a little more. But just going back to your point, I really agree that we need to, maybe start looking elsewhere. I think, I definitely agree with that. I mostly want to hit on the subject that, not only is Allen Robinson a dog, but Miller was the one. Have you been seeing those? I've been seeing a bunch of highlights of Miller getting past safeties and getting past DBs super easily, wide open, overthrown ball.
Yeah,
and it's happening time and time again. And it's crazy that we have route runners on our team. Our guys aren't the fastest. Don't get me wrong. Our guys aren't the biggest. They're not the strongest, but their routes are clean, they're crisp, and they're doing their job. And we need to connect the ball to their hands better than what we've been doing.
And I think it's aggravation on the offense, which is part of what's getting to Wims, the aggravation of our offense not hitting big plays like that, and just aggravation of quick 3-and-outs. And now he sat there for 7 minutes after another 3-and-out of his mouth guard being ripped out of his mouth and started all these problems. This ESPN article I'm looking at that talks about his suspension that was written on November 4th. Written on November 4th by someone from ESPN. Mike Triplett contributed on this article. It says that Gardner Johnson on Monday disputed on NFL Network report that said Wims told the officials that he spit on him prior to the punch that got Wims ejected from Sunday's game. Then it says, although cameras captured Gardner Johnson ripping out Wims' mouthpiece and jabbing a finger in fellow Bears player receiver Anthony Miller on the previous play, Gardner Johnson insisted Monday that he's innocent. He said, it ain't got nothing to do with me. If he's acting out, that's on him. Gardner Johnson said, it was no incident. We won that game. I mean, everybody. It's a lot of he said, and nothing happened. Nobody got spit on. Shouldn't be nowhere near the field of play when the game's going on, so I ain't answering no more questions about that. What do you think about what Gardner Johnson's saying about the reports that he spit on him and the cameras catching him poke Anthony Miller in the eye and ripping Wims' mouth guard out of his mouth? Should Gardner Johnson get any fines or suspensions from the NFL for his actions on Sunday?
Yeah, so it seems clear that there's evidence based on defending Wims, and although he it's hard to say that he overreacted just because we're not in that position. But his reaction is not necessarily unjustifiable. There's evidence based on him poking his fellow teammate in the eye. They caught him spitting in his face, and if he's gonna sit there and lie, and Wims is gonna get completely suspended. I mean, it's the same thing that happened with Ducky Johnson and Myles Garrett last year. I mean, obviously not the same thing. One person
Mason
said,
Rudolph.
Did I say Ducky Johnson?
Yeah.
It's not my fault.
You're good.
Yeah. So he's, crazy situation in that aspect, but it's a lot of he said. You can't mic up every player every game, and it's tough to see that. And I play football, I know exactly how it gets heated on the field. There's a lot of a lot of insults going across the line of scrimmage here and there, and it's definitely a tough situation to judge. But I think, in my opinion, that there should be a fine, and I don't know if he needs to be suspended, but I think there should be a fine for lying, or that he needs to not take it to court, but go under the board of the NFL
players.
Yeah, exactly. And, have that report. Because Mills he has game bonuses in his contract. So he's getting robbed of that money that he can possibly have for reacting the way he did. Yeah. And now, don't get me wrong, he needs to, sit back, take a second and look at his reaction and be able to build off that. But I think that, there should be consequences going on the other side as well.
Yep. And I just want to also say what Coach Nagy talked about with the media about after the game really quick. Bears coach Matt Nagy called the punch unacceptable Sunday after the game, told the reporters he has since talked to Wims that the wide receiver is apologetic for what happened. I did talk to Jovan today, Nagy said on the Monday video call. Out of respect, I'm going to keep that between us and internally. But we did talk to him, and regardless of what went on, he was apologetic and knows that no matter what, you cannot do what he did. So how the game ended up going, the Bears lost in overtime. A crucial drive where they picked up a few yards, and it could have been a 3rd and short, turns out to end up becoming a 3rd and long because of what Wims did. And the Bears now lose a close game in overtime. How apologetic can you be to a teammate in a locker room who's going to see you after, who doesn't know if maybe we could have scored on a drive when you costed us that opportunity because of a punch in the face like that?
Not to be satirical, but you never know with the Bears offense. But, I understand that frustration of turning something so small into so big. So, for example, my senior year of high school, I was on West Aurora's high school football team. My cousin, Matthew, was on East Aurora's high school football team. And I'll tell you what, I was a fullback and I was blocking, and I saw him across the field, and we were going for a long run. Our running back broke free, and I just blindsided the heck out of my cousin. and we ended up getting the play called back, and it was my first ever personal foul in football, my whole life. And we ended up scoring on the drive, but my coach was pissed at me, so mad, because it was called back. Now, we were winning 42-0 at that point, but it's definitely something that you need to be apologetic about, and you need to go to your team and you need to express, you know what, I was wrong. I was in the wrong. I did something terrible, and I regret it, and I'm very sorry for it. But what's in the past is in the past, and ultimately, as an organization, we need to keep moving forward if we want to keep on building. Like Nick Foles said it, we don't want pretty losses. We don't want to. We'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. We don't want to be losing 42-49 when we can win those 13-9 games, and that's that.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this for hours. I don't think that's going to solve anything, though. Let's just say it. The Bears' offense is not where it needs to be. In instances like this, all it's going to do is stall a team that's already going backwards. Every time we take one step forward, we're taking 2 steps back, and this pushed us even farther back. That's all the time we have for today. Thomas, thank you again for letting me interview you on this.
Man, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Go ahead and, if you're not subscribed to this podcast, please do. He's always got some great content coming out. Great guy. Better heart.
Thank you for that, Thomas. And for all you young football fans out there, remember, Do not punch someone in the head who's wearing a helmet. It will only hurt you, not them.
Physically.
That's all the time we have for you today. Go out there, enjoy the day. And Thomas, what day is it?
Man, RJ, it's a great day to be a Jay.
Go Blue Jays. See you next week, friends.